Somos un equipo interdisciplinario de la universidad. Nuestro equipo fue diseñado por la Bloom Iniciativa Transfronteriza con intención de crear una valoración de los programas que existen aquí, en particular con nuestros aliados ONG, Alterterra y Casa Familiar en San Isidro.
From this experience, I really have to say that I learned a lot in terms of what's the U.S. role in terms of Mexican politics, as well as what's the Mexican role in terms of U.S. politics. And there's a lot of history that goes into it, as well as a lot of collaboration between nonprofits across both borders.
In this presentation, we will show the intersecting relationship between Los Laureles, Tijuana, Mexico, and San Isidro, California, United States. This will be demonstrated by the connection of people and places, as well as the issues of education, employment, recreation, safety, health, and the environment.
In understanding education as teaching institutions, outreaches, and support that is introduced and reinforced in the community, there is a noticeable relationship with employment in San Isidro and Tijuana. As we look at education in San Isidro, we will see many educational institutions, and most of them are within the district borders of San Isidro, except for that of San Isidro High School, which lies outside. San Isidro High School reflects the urbanization within the nearby San Isidro area. In contrast, when looking at education in Tijuana, like that of Los Laureles, there are noticeable differences. In addition to the lack of educational institutions, there is a smaller retention rate of students during their years of primary and secondary education, as many of the students in Tijuana are failing and oftentimes dropping out from school. Many who drop out are introduced to work in the maquiladoras, where large-scale companies recruit and hire locals to work in their manufacturing companies for low wages and no benefits. Additionally, besides the maquiladoras, regular employment is inconsistent and sometimes not frequent within the Tijuana area, as jobs and work appear as certain projects come up. Some individuals seek jobs and assignments in the U.S. in order to make larger profits than that in Mexico.
The darker colors shown on the map indicate a higher rate of employment for the area. In contrast, the lighter colors show a lower employment rate. Casa Familiar employs residents from the San Isidro area as well as from Tijuana. The employees are bilingual and are familiar with the San Isidro area. The Las Americas Outlet Mall is a prime source of income for San Isidro, as well as a source of employment for the community. The Outlet Mall primarily hires bilingual speakers and employs people from both the San Diego area and Tijuana region.
We have found that in the communities of Los Laureles and San Isidro, there is a lack of recreation. To begin with, in San Isidro, based on our interviews, we have found that people request for more recreation locations such as cafes and parks. Their nearest movie theater is located outside of the community in Chula Vista at the Palm Promenade. Las Americas is San Isidro's main attraction, where people from other regions do their shopping because of the discounted prices. Even those from the other side of the border cross to benefit from the affordable products. Furthermore, Revolucion is another area where individuals from San Isidro go to find other forms of attractions such as nightlife and food. Although it is only a mile away, the line to cross back is unpredictable and hectic because it can be as long as 6 hours or more. As for the residents of Los Laureles, they also depend on the Centro for recreation. They have to travel 30 minutes outside of their community to reach the shopping centers, the clubs, and the bars and restaurants. The Cinepolis, which is the main movie theater in Tijuana, is located across town from Los Laureles, demonstrated that there is a long distance to travel for something as simple as watching a movie. Another point drawn from the interview is the lack of transportation. In San Isidro, the population uses public transportation 105.1% more than the rest of San Diego, meaning it is heavily impacted. As for in Los Laureles, according to the GIS layer, the lighter shade areas demonstrate that there is not that many households that own cars. The heavily shaded areas are the city locations of Tijuana where it is common to own a car. For those who do not own cars, they have to rely on the public transportation where taxis can be pricey and some of the buses do not pass through certain colonies because of the lack of paved roads. Since there is a lack of transportation and recreation, individuals resort into negative activities such as crime and drug use, leading to the issue of safety.
The biggest safety concern between the two regions of San Isidro and Los Laureles is how infrastructure can affect the physical well-being of the residents. In San Isidro, La Caminata, a project by Casa Familiar, exhibited that there is a lack of sidewalks as students walk to the high school. According to Mother Elsa, es peligroso y a los estudiantes les toca caminar por la noche. It's very dangerous for the students, as seen by the image here. Many students walk home during the night, and there's also a lack of lighting, connected right next to this crowded area where cars often go. Sidewalks are only present by the newly constructed homes, as you all can see in this image right here. As students walk along these sidewalks, the sidewalk ends at a specific point where there is steeper inclination and no rails on the side. When there is guarding on the side, it is sharp with screws that students may scrape themselves with. In addition, alleys in San Isidro, which were originally supposed to be walkways, have been isolated by fencing and dense housing, resulting in graffiti that Casa Familiar has attempted to combat. Contrasting this with Los Laureles, in Tijuana, there are open-air gutters, which the residents call las drenajes. As resident Guadalupe said, los drenajes son peligrosos. They're dangerous, and that her children have fallen in. Here is an image of that. You can see the trash and the insanitary conditions that are in the open sewers, and the possibility for people and cars to fall in. Looking at that wooden plank, that is the structure that people must cross in order to get into their homes. Most of the community agrees that improper waste disposal is the biggest pollution issue in the area. Combined with steep inclination and unpaved roads, there's not only a higher chance of flooding and danger, but also health risks.
Communities along the U.S.-Mexican border also share a common set of themes regarding health. The similarities we saw between the two sides are highlighted by two specific topics, namely the inaccessibility of healthcare and public health risks. For the San Isidro area, the only health facility is the San Isidro Health Center. The San Isidro Health Center offers limited outpatient services, accepts only a few private insurances in addition to governmental policies, and its care is very costly if a patient is not covered. Patients we spoke to also complain about a very long wait time. Since San Isidro residents cannot go to the San Isidro Health Center to get emergency aid, patients must travel all the way to the Chula Vista Sharp Medical Center for the nearest emergency room. This commute takes around 15 minutes by car. Fortunately, the Chula Vista Sharp Medical Center accepts more insurance policies and offers more services than San Isidro Health Clinic. Still, costs are very high, which pushes many San Isidro residents to travel south of the border to look for cheaper health services. On the other side of the border, getting services from the General Hospital of downtown Tijuana is difficult for Tijuana residents, as they have to spend around 8 to 10 hours in line for a chance of getting their necessary medication and services, according to a resident we spoke to. Supplies are known to be limited to a number of patients each day, which forces those who leave empty-handed to see a medical consultant that charges additional fees. The health center in the Los Laureles Canyon only offers basic health services and medications for locals twice a week and becomes an Alcoholics Anonymous center during evenings. If residents of Los Laureles seek prescriptions that are unavailable at the Unidad Servicio Recuperación, they must travel about 30 minutes by bus or taxi and pay up to 300 pesos if the drugs are not covered by Seguro Popular, the universal healthcare policy of Mexico. Seguro Popular covers only basic health needs and must be reapplied for every 5 years. Thus, although it is universally available, many people are not signed up for this policy. As you can see on the map, the darkest spots are the regions where 50% or more of its residents are not registered.
Inability to get access to health insurance and services leads to many public health issues. According to our interviewees, one of the most striking issues in the Los Laureles Canyon is a respiratory disease caused by dust. Lack of pavement forces people to walk on dirt throughout their day, exposing them to dust allergens and potent carriers of disease, like fleas. The community understands this as an issue, as they told us, "We want it to be clean, we want paved roads." To fully understand the detriment of this issue, researchers like Keith Pozzoli are analyzing dust samples from the canyon. Another public health issue that is apparent in both sides of the community is a known drug problem, as many of the colonias in Tijuana and neighborhoods in San Isidro have ready access to drugs. The Tijuana Canal is home to many drug addicts, many of whom share needles that spread infectious diseases. San Isidro also has ready access to certain addictive drugs like methamphetamine. It is possible for these to be interrelated, but drug trafficking must be investigated further in the region. Finally, the pollution and trash issue plagues the Los Laureles Canyon, communities, and bioregions near the border. There are hundreds of illegal dump sites where plastics, hospital waste, and other non-biodegradable trash is thrown away throughout the canyon. These dump sites not only have an epidemiological impact, but are also an environmental issue that must be examined.
The geography of the San Diego-Tijuana region shows that the region is one sub-basin within a similar terrain. It's one bioregion. Tijuana contains various canyons and mesas which direct water flows towards the estuary reserve in the San Diego County. With the development history previously mentioned, we can see that San Diego County has preserved the estuary, while Tijuana has had a burst of informal development within the canyons. Observing the flows across the border in Tijuana, it is understood that the United States sells worn-out tires to the Mexican government at reduced rates. In 2003, 150 million tires that were no longer acceptable to use in the United States were exported to Mexico. Jennifer Hazard from Alter Terra used maps and trash tracking probes that use radio frequency tags to study the waste flows from informal dump sites that reside in Los Laureles. The uncontrolled urbanization of Los Laureles creates ecological conditions that encourage sediment flows during the rainy seasons into the southern end of the estuary. Jesus, an interviewee, stated that when it rains, he must ask the neighbors for permission to leave his own home since roads become flooded with water. Open sewer systems in Los Laureles are also susceptible to waste thrown out by residents, although it's important to note that they are not the main contributors of waste pollution. This means that residents are exposed to high levels of pollutants throughout the environment.
Air pollution is also an environmental issue that affects the San Diego-Tijuana region. Since the Los Laureles Canyon is not fully developed, many roads are still comprised of dirt. Industrial trucks frequently travel these roads, which spread dust within the air. This can be especially hazardous, as there are many excess piles of dirt still within the canyon after its rapid private development. San Isidro also faces air quality issues as the main community is surrounded by 3 major freeways. This can result in respiratory problems for the schools unfortunately located near these highways. This includes Willow Elementary, San Isidro Middle School, and San Isidro High School. The San Isidro-Tijuana port of entry is also where poor air quality is located, as many cars idle near people waiting in line to cross the border. CitySense data shows concentrations of nitrogen dioxide during a day trip, with red-orange being of poor air quality and yellow-green being better. Here we can see that being near the border can be a potential health hazard.
After reviewing all of the issues in the perspective of people and places, we noticed that the common thread between all of the issues is this general lack of access to proper health care, to knowledge, to transportation, to services, and more. Accessibility is an overlapping theme that we have utilized as the core reasoning behind some recommendations or opportunities that we have formed. Through the continuing collaboration of UCSD Blum with our existing partners, and perhaps additional partners, we hope to further expand on the recommendations in the future.
linear park. We're eventually going to reach the border, the U.S.-Mexico border, with these expressions of public art and environmental solutions. This is a Fairview's favorite corridor that also helps women to walk from their houses towards the factories up above.